But I wanted to share my story in some details. I was kind of hesitating to, make a video, but you know what? I thought maybe I should do that because few people thought maybe, maybe I'm not a real person. Some people thought there was some Jewish conspiracy going on, and all sorts of ideas out there. So I wanted to make a video to show that I'm a real person. I was born I was born into an Ismaili family. My dad is Ismaili, my mom was Sunni, and I was raised as an Ismaili. And around the age of maybe 18 or so in high school, I found Islam. Some of my friends invited me to read the Quran, and I started reading it. I started praying, what was called namaz or salah. And I got really excited. I found the Quran and I got really excited about it. I really liked it. And I said, hey, this is God's message to me. I didn't look into it too critically. I felt like, I looked into a little bit of other religions and stuff, and I felt it's just instinctive, and I felt like this is something, good, something I want to follow, God's message. And I started praying 5 times a day. And, eventually I took a deep dive into Islam. I started following it with all my heart and mind. There came a point in my life where I started having a little bit of doubt here and there, small doubts. And eventually, I was at 2 years ago, I had some doubts. I was discussing with a friend online, and he mentioned that a lot of the stories in the Quran actually come from Jewish folktales. And I was very surprised about that, like Jewish folktales. I said, no, you mean it came from the Bible or the Hebrew Torah. And when I looked into it, I found out that actually a lot of the stories are from the Talmud, which is actually the Jewish commentary and the Jewish stories and basically the rabbis, commentary of the traditions. And so it doesn't really have a divine origin. And, I also had a big problem with the story of Dhul Qarnayn, this tribe of how Dhul Qarnayn, he trapped this tribe of people, Yajuj and Majuj, Gog and Magog, behind a giant gate built of copper and iron. And I was wondering, where is this place? How come we can't find it? We have Google Earth and all that, and how come we can't find it? So that was another doubt. And I believe, left Islam for one day. But then I decided, what? I'm going to put my doubts aside. I'm Muslim. I want to go to Jannah. I want to believe in Allah. And I became Muslim for 1 more year. And then last year, so 1 year ago, is when I truly left Islam for good. I was in Ramadan, and I was at a pre-iftar halaqah. And the sheikh was saying, Allah holds up the sky without any pillars. And this brought back all my doubts about, if the Quran is truly from God, the creator of the universe, the one that knows all things, why is he describing the world in a way that, was the 7th century understanding of the world? And, there's many things like that, like the orbit of the sun and the moon. Why Allah describes an orbit of the sun and the moon? Like, we know the orbit of the moon is around the earth. That makes sense. But the orbit of the sun, like, what orbit would that be? I looked into this and I found, well, there is an orbit. Even in the Sahih Hadith, Prophet Muhammad, he asked his companions, do you know where the sun goes when at the time of Maghrib? And they said, Allah knows best and his messenger knows best. And he said, it goes beneath the throne of Allah. Now we know the sun is actually still there, and it's actually the earth that's going around the sun. So, this one and many other things, they didn't add up to me, that why the creator of the universe is making these mistakes. Or, describing it in a way that doesn't make any sense today, now based on the new information. And it made me wonder, is it truly Allah, the creator, or is it just coming from a man that lived in the 7th century, that believed these things and was basically writing them as he went? And so, the stories in the Quran, like I said, Dhul Qarnayn, where is Gog and Magog, Yajuj and Majuj? There's supposed to be, millions and millions of them stuck behind this dam. We haven't found any giant gate anywhere in the world. I mean, even some of I think it was Omar, we went to look for it, and they didn't find it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right? And so these things, my doubts began to grow and grow. And eventually I got to the point where I said, this can't be from God. I don't believe in this anymore. And because my doubt became more than my certainty. And when I started to look into each one of the claims that of in the Quran, that the Quran is actually from God, like embryology and the mountains and all of these things, including the language, I found they just fell down. When you look into it, you find it's actually, the idea is flawed. And same thing with the stories in the Quran, like if they were true stories, why is it that we're finding trouble, verifying these facts. But then suddenly, I just don't believe that there's any possibility that this actually came from a divine being, this book, the Quran.
Saya mau ikut Yesus. Saya mau ikut Yesus.